Welcome to this presentation called Fasting is a Superfood. And I'm going to give you today non-food examples. As you know, I fast. I've been doing it for 30 plus years. Started back in the mid 80s. And I've also added non-food fasting to my fasting regime. But today we're going to talk about non-food fasting, which I think is more powerful for our health than food fasting. And I'm a believer, a major believer in food fasting. I do long-term fasting and intermittent. I do both. So, but non-food is even bigger. And I want to convince you that you should start doing this to improve your overall health. Last video that I did for you, I actually went over a whole bunch of the benefits of the goals that we would want to derive from non-food fasting. I'm not going to do them again. You can look at that video. And the purpose of this particular video is really to get yourself thinking, come up with ideas of what things you might consider fasting on. And they're things that normally are causing problems. They're probably stress areas, anxiety areas, things that might be developing panic attacks, depression, in the like. So these are examples. I use some of these, but not all of them. They all don't relate to me. So I had a mother bear in mind and or their cubs as I came up with this list. Anyway, I want you to think of maybe just one, and all we're going to do is just think about it, identify one thing to fast on, one non-food thing to fast on, because my next video, I'm going to go over how to really get a fast, going. So this is really more of an identification process than anything else. Okay, let's get right into it. And the first one for a lot of mother bears, obviously, is to fast on the notion that they're solely responsible for the outcome of their cubs, whether their cubs are successful in life, whether it's financial or relational or emotional, it's all on them. They feel so responsible, that candidly becomes a stress area. So for some mother bears who are doing too much of that, I'm going to recommend that they fast on the notion that they're solely responsible. Yes, they're an influencer, but obviously the school is, their peers, their friends, the system out there, social media, churches, athletics, things that they belong to. They're influenced by a lot of people, so it's not really possible to be solely responsible for them. But some other bears have that idea, and I suggest they need to lighten up on it and therefore abstain from thinking too much about that concept. Second one is sedentary. Some mothers, yes, some mothers, no. A lot of mothers are so active, they're going to work, they come home, they got to clean the house, go in the yard, do the yard work. So, fasting from being sedentary is not an issue. But some are. Some are getting maybe too focused on social media, and they're sitting more, and and it's not doing themselves any good. So some need to do fasting on the sedentary. Noise, woof. This is one that I don't think we think of too much. There's noise. We're putting things, in our ears. We've got, street noise. We've got airplane noise. We've got conversation noise. But lots of distractions. And these things aren't doing our minds, hearts, and souls any good. One of the things that I do teach on is spiritual growth at a human level. Yes, maybe in preparation of a divine connection, but at a human level, I have people practice silence and solitude. Silence. So noise will distract us from being connected to our hearts, our spiritual side, as it were. So fasting the noise is a big deal. Overthinking. Okay, overthinking. This is obviously for us melancholy types like myself. I think of the big picture, all the individual parts, integrate them together, overthinking like crazy. I can exhaust myself in the thinking. And so some people like me, I need to stop my overthinking. Fast, not cool, just you don't need to think all the time, Mr. Advocate, and go from there. Okay, anger. Yes, some of us are more angry than others. Every one of us has anger. We have hot spots or hot buttons that can be pushed and create the anger. And sometimes just for a period of time, I always say, I'm really going to focus on not being angry. So if that's you, that might be the one you might pick. Putting yourself down. Okay, another one for our melancholy types. The melancholy actually has low self-esteem, as we know. It doesn't mean that they're not capable. They have low self-esteem regardless of their capability. And there's something that goes on inside them. They actually search the universe to find reasons why they're worthless. This is true. They actually spend a lot of time proving they're worthless. Whether they're conscious of it or not is another thing, but that goes along with the temperament of the melancholy. So, some of us need to be fasting, not putting ourselves down. Spending money on All right, so budgeting, spending too much money, developing some discipline. For some people, money is a big issue. Money can be problematic in terms of marital relationships, as we know. Some say it's the number one cause of divorce is some type of money issue. And so fasting or abstaining from spending some money for some people might be really important. It could be something as simple as a cup of coffee, or spending excessively on toys and whatnot for our cubs. Yeah, no, I mean, we could be doing that as well. So if the money area is an issue, then think about what it is, so that when we come to the fast time, yeah, I'm going to abstain from spending money on, something. Busyness. Now, we're all busy and legitimately busy, and I appreciate that, especially mother bears, are taking care of their kids, maybe have a spouse, they maybe working, they have to do things in the home and cleaning and food, and then they're out in the yard doing yard work. But some people add more busyness than they need. It becomes a coping mechanism to deal with some underlying stress or problem. So it's for those people that know they're staying busy, coming up with projects to do so they don't have to do something else. That would be, if that's you, that's what I'm talking about there. Not busy, we're all busy. Abusive environment. Okay, somebody says, love to fast from an abusive environment. How do I get out of it? It's in my home. I live in an abusive, environment. And sometimes, yes, it's taking a walk, just trying to find some mechanisms of getting out so you could just get a break from the abusive environment. Sometimes it's a mindset, a conditioning of our mind that we have some escape vis-a-vis our mind from an abusive environment. So some need to look at that area in terms of the non-food fasting. Comparison, yeah. So a lot of us will look at ourselves and determine our value by looking at somebody else and making a comparison. And that's not really healthy, because candidly, we're all made 100% unique. There are no two me's around, probably a good thing. There are no two yous, around it, and that's by design. I have my own DNA, my own fingerprints, my own retina, identifiers, my own life experiences, et cetera, et cetera. So the comparison game is not helpful. So some people need to fast from comparison. Complaining, yes, complaining about what? First of all, okay, complaining too much. If you notice, or people saying, gosh, you're complaining about this, you're complaining about that, this might be an area. I know that for older people, it's usually the pains. They're always complaining about their pains, or maybe they don't have as much fluidness in their body. They can't do the same things. Those are true, and those are problematic and maybe even hurtful. But if we continue doing complaining, it's going to negatively impact us and probably accelerate our physical health, accelerate our pains. So again, we're trying to select things that will improve our overall health, emotionally, physically, cognitively, etc. Then just the fear of future. Wow, we live in an environment of so much change has happened in the last year, and of course, probably the last 10 years when you think about it, just unbelievable amount of change. And a lot of us would perceive it not all good. And when we look at the trend line, we may say, this isn't going in a direction that I think is going to serve us well. And so we could have some fears, of the future, or just how we will operate in the future. Some people have a fear of being alone in the future. So it's projecting the future with some fear is not good for us. It's good to have discernment, but not whereby we are taking it to a fear level, which again is really the precursor for stress, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, suicidal thoughts, destructive behavior. So all these things, we're fasting to prevent all those negative things in our life, which will just improve, our physical side, will improve our relationships. So pick one. Look at these. And hey, it may not even be on the board here. Just know one thing that you said, geez, I really should abstain from this particular thing, at least for a period of time. So think of these, or one fits here, think of another one. So when you see the next video, you'll have the thing in mind that you want to fast from. And when I go over the 6 different things that will help make the fast successful, that'll be practical. Okay, this is how I'm going to do this particular thing, and I'm going to give you those ideas. Okay, that's it for this video. I'm hoping you picked one, and I hope you're going to wait for the next video. It's going to come out really shortly, right after this one, so that you can start your non-food fasting, and I'm calling it obviously a superfood because it has big benefits, for you. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.